For 4 long seasons, Lewis Hamilton has looked like a champion trapped in machinery that simply refused to listen. The man who once dominated Formula One with ruthless precision found himself battling unpredictable cars, fading qualifying form, and a growing sense of frustration. But now, quietly, in the heat of Barcelona pre-season testing, something has changed, and the first signs of a momentum shift may already be unfolding. A lap time that didn't shatter records has suddenly become the most intriguing benchmark of the winter. More importantly, Hamilton walked away smiling, describing a Ferrari that feels alive, aggressive, and finally enjoyable again. Could Formula One's new regulation philosophy be perfectly aligned with Hamilton's legendary driving style? And could this be the turning point that reshapes the entire competitive order? Stay with us, because what happened in Barcelona could define the future of the 2026 season. And make sure to subscribe now, because this story could be the start of one of the biggest comebacks Formula One has ever seen. At first glance, Lewis Hamilton topping Ferrari's timing sheets in Barcelona doesn't scream revolution. A 1 minute and 16.348 seconds lap is nowhere near the blistering pace of last year's Spanish Grand Prix pole, and the gap to George Russell was barely 1/10 of a second. In isolation, it's the kind of number Formula One fans have learned to ignore during pre-season testing. But as always in F1, context is everything, and in this case, the context may be pointing towards something far bigger than a simple winter headline. What truly caught the paddock's attention wasn't the lap time itself, it was Hamilton's reaction when he climbed out of the SF-26. For the first time in years, the 7-time world champion sounded genuinely upbeat, not cautiously optimistic, not diplomatically positive, but openly enthusiastic. Hamilton described Ferrari's new car as lighter in downforce, more lively, more willing to slide, yet easier to control at the limit. He spoke about oversteer, snap, and responsiveness with a tone that suggested excitement rather than concern. And for those who understand Hamilton's driving DNA, that's a massive clue. This is a driver who has always thrived on instability. Lewis Hamilton's greatest strength has never been smoothness alone. It's been his ability to operate right on the edge of control. His signature technique involves braking aggressively, loading the front tyres hard, and using a loose rear end to rotate the car into the corner before even fully releasing the brakes. It's a violent, precise, high-risk style that dominated Formula One for over a decade. But everything changed in 2022. The ground effect era forced teams to run cars incredibly low and extremely stiff to maximize aerodynamic sealing under the floor. These machines generated massive downforce, but they hated sudden weight transfer. They resisted rotation. They punished drivers who attacked the brakes too aggressively. And no one suffered more than Hamilton. The cars simply wouldn't behave the way he needed them to. Instead of diving under braking and rotating naturally, they felt rigid and unresponsive. The rear wouldn't come around predictably. The front axle couldn't be loaded in the same way. Confidence, especially in qualifying, evaporated. That's why Hamilton's famous one-lap dominance disappeared almost overnight. It wasn't just Mercedes struggling with development. It was a regulation philosophy that fundamentally clashed with Hamilton's instincts. By 2024 and 2025, the frustration was obvious. Hamilton even admitted there was not a single thing he would miss about this generation of cars, calling them the worst he'd ever driven in Formula One. Now comes the twist. Formula One's new regulations have quietly shifted the sport back toward a more traditional aerodynamic philosophy. The reintroduction of stepped floors has dramatically reduced the importance of extreme ground effect sealing. Teams no longer need to slam the car into the asphalt or run ultra-stiff suspensions just to generate performance. Instead, we're seeing the return of more compliant setups and, critically, more aggressive rake. Rake where the rear of the car sits higher than the front, was a defining feature of the dominant cars of the 2010. It naturally shifts aerodynamic balance forward under braking, increasing front-end grip and helping rotate the car into corners. Sound familiar? It's exactly what Hamilton's driving style demands. This is why his feedback from Barcelona is so important. Sliding, snappy, responsive cars aren't a problem for Hamilton, they're a weapon. The fact that he's enjoying the SF-26 suggests Ferrari's new machine may finally be working with his instincts rather than against them. And when Hamilton feels connected to a car, history tells us the results can be devastating for the rest of the grid. Beyond feel, Ferrari's test program added another layer of intrigue. The team completed over 440 laps, second only to Mercedes, with minimal reliability issues. Hamilton repeatedly praised the smooth operations, consistent running, and sharp communication within the team. In modern Formula One, reliability during testing often correlates with development momentum. Teams that log high mileage early typically progress faster as the season unfolds. It means more data, more correlation, and more opportunity to fine-tune performance. Ferrari's strong mileage combined with Hamilton's positive feedback paints a picture of a team that may finally be firing on all cylinders. But there's more. Ferrari has already admitted that the car seen in Barcelona is not the final product. An upgraded A-spec version is expected for the Australian Grand Prix, meaning the SF-26 Hamilton enjoyed is essentially a foundation model. If this baseline already suits him, the potential ceiling could be enormous. Of course, skepticism remains essential. Pre-season testing is famously deceptive. Fuel loads vary wildly. Engine modes are hidden. Teams deliberately disguise performance. Red Bull's relatively slow lap time almost certainly doesn't reflect their true pace. McLaren and Mercedes are likely holding plenty back as well. But while lap times can be manipulated, driver emotion cannot. You can fake speed. You can't fake enjoyment. And Hamilton hasn't sounded this energized in years. There's now a growing theory inside the paddock that the regulation reset has unintentionally swung Formula One back toward cars that favour Hamilton more than anyone else on the grid. If true, it could trigger a massive shift in competitive order. Imagine a scenario where Ferrari's development accelerates just as Hamilton's confidence returns. A driver with 7 world titles, renewed motivation, and a car designed around more traditional handling traits could suddenly become one of the most dangerous forces in the championship again. Another crucial factor is qualifying. If these new generation cars allow harder braking, greater rotation, and more aggressive setups, Hamilton's legendary one-lap pace could make a comeback, and that alone can transform a season. Starting further forward changes strategy options, tyre life, race control, and overall results. Even small gains in qualifying confidence often snowball into massive performance improvements over a full campaign. What we may be witnessing isn't just Ferrari posting a decent winter lap. We may be seeing the early signs of Lewis Hamilton finally escaping the regulatory nightmare that trapped him for 4 years. A car that listens. A team with momentum. A regulation shift that aligns with his natural instincts. Barcelona might not have revealed the fastest car on the grid, but it may have revealed something far more important. The return of a driver who finally feels at one with his machine again. And if that connection continues to grow, Formula One's balance of power could soon look very different. So if these new generation cars really are the key to unlocking Hamilton's old magic, could we be on the verge of one of the greatest late-career comebacks in Formula One history? Or will Ferrari's optimism fade once real racing begins? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of our latest videos.